Okay guys, I just wanted to get this video up before main event came on, so this might be a fast video. This might not be fast at all. Might be just as long. I'm gonna try to see where it goes. Um, Old School RAW is coming next week, so I decided to do like a series review on that. So I did the last one they had, which was in 2010, and this was actually a very good Raw. To be well, okay, the Old School Raw though. Let me actually explain it. So this Old School Raw that I'm going to be talking about happened on November 15th, 2010. Um, Now as for this Old School Raw, it was like the matches weren't the greatest, but it was just good to see the legends there, and you got to see legends that you don't see today, and legends that weren't seen often even then. Well, it just wasn't that. It's not like it was that long ago either. It was 2010. But I really did enjoy. I really did enjoy this the Raw back then. But now I look at it now, it was some stuff I would have tweaked with it. But it's an Old School Raw. It's fine. So let's kick it off. So I actually want to mention though the way they decorated. Like they had like normally like before they even do the Raw intro, they had the beginning intro when it was just the Legends logo you see on either like WWE 13, WWE 12, stuff like that. And it said the words Red Wrestling Federation, but then they crossed out Federation and it said Entertainment. So I thought that was cool. And then it showed the Old School Raw, the Titan intro, and it was just pretty much the same as the newer one, but they had the Legends thing on it. It was just kind of different. Then the song was kind of different too, so it wasn't like the current Raw song. I think it was like the Raw song, like it was like a kind of like a legend kind of theme to it. And they used the microphones they used with that said Legends on it back in the old days. They had this instead of the steel being covered with the barricade like you see today, it was just like steel like you see in TNA. And the steel and the commentary chairs weren't like the chairs you see today, the rolling chairs, even in TNA, was like the just steel chairs, and the table was just a table, and the Titantron was set up like the old Raw. Some people wore WrestleMania 1 T-shirts, so there was like stuff like that, which was I thought was pretty cool. Um, so we have Jerry the King Lawler and Michael Cole in commentary. Um, Lawler was in his old coat, and I guess Michael Cole was in his own in Vince McMahon's back when he was in a commentary's coat, and Michael Cole, they did the intro 3 times, and I'll say when they did, but every time you did it, like Michael Cole and Lawler, Michael Cole and Lawler tried to act like Jesse the Body Ventura and Vince McMahon when they were on commentary, which was okay. So then we get me, Gene Okerlund comes back, and Cowboy Bob Orton. He interviews Cowboy Bob Orton, and he was supposed to interview Randy Orton too, but he was late because before they had the 3-hour Raws, they had 2-hour Raws, and I guess Randy Orton supposedly was late because he didn't know they were starting an hour earlier. So that's kind of unrealistic. Cowboy Bob Orton talks about how like Orton's teachers used to give him calls all the time saying that they were too afraid that he was gonna hurt them. Then he's like, I don't care about John Cena's career, because at this time Cena was in the Nexus, and this was like the week before the Monday before Survivor Series, and John Cena was in the Nexus, and Wade Barrett and Randy Orton were gonna have a match for the WWE Championship with the Cena as the ref. And if Barrett won the title, John Cena would be free from Nexus, and if Randy Orton retained his championship, John Cena would be fired by Barrett, because at that time, if John Cena didn't follow Wade Barrett's orders, he would be fired. So, and he wanted him to help him. So then he said he doesn't care about Cena's career. Orton's gonna retain the championship. then Wade Barrett comes out and says that the only reason that I don't have the Nexus out here with me is that he wants Cowboy Bob Orton to see his Wade Barrett win the WWE Championship. The Miz and Alex Riley come out because this is at the time when Alex Riley was the Miz's apprentice. And Miz says, and this is at the time when the Miz had the Money in the Bank contract. The Miz said that he stuck it to Randy Orton because he wasn't happy to be on his team, and that's what Lawler said. But the real reason that he said was because he was trying to prove that he could control any main event whenever he wanted to. I think that was more the reason. And he says that he can just foil the whole plan, have Cena be in the Nexus for John Cena be in the Nexus forever. If he cashes in the Money in the Bank briefcase tonight on Randy Orton, and then Barrett doesn't get his title match because Orton, I guess, would have invoked a rematch clause at Survivor Series, I'm assuming, and then Barrett would just be out of the match. So then Cena comes on the Titantron and says that tonight this is completely under Cena's orders. He is going to protect Wade Barrett, and he challenges Miz to a match, and he accepts. So then we get Dolph Ziggler with Vicky Guerrero versus Mark Henry, and Mark Henry was in his sexual chocolate gimmick. That's what he was in. The match wasn't that great. It was just a match, but it wasn't bad. I liked when they had Ziggler kick Mark Henry kick out of that leg drop move that Ziggler hits, and Mark Henry kicked out of the zigzag, and then he just gets put in the sleeper hold for the victory. So it wasn't bad the way it ended. It just wasn't really that great. Then we get the Hart Dynasty backstage, which is Tyson Kidd and David Holt Smith. And David Holt Smith tells Tyson Kidd that his father, which is the British Bulldog, and the Dynamite Kid, used to fight had differences, but they still became the greatest tag team. And then they run into Tony Atlas backstage, and he used to tag team with The Rock, aka Dwayne Johnson's father. And he said that they had their differences, but they still work together as a team. But he just goes on and on talking about how like they wanted to do different things, like him eating the chicken skin, him going to the gym, going to other places. So then the Hart Dynasty leave, it goes to commercial, then it comes back, and then he's back there, and Yoshitatsu's backstage, and Yoshitatsu's just going because he wants to put him in a headlock so bad. But you know what? Yoshitatsu sucks. So it wouldn't even matter if he did it. He would just be, Tony Atlas would just be like, you suck, you don't hurt, Yoshitatsu, you can't wrestle, get off of me. So he would still be talking anyway, so Yoshitatsu sucks. But doing this, Michael Cole said that he had to like drive somewhere with Tony Atlas, and he had to listen to him talk the whole time, which was pretty funny. So then we get Heath Slater. I accidentally put a G there for some reason. And Justin Gabriel versus the Hart Dynasty, and at that time Heath Slater and Justin Gabriel were in the Nexus, and were the tag team champions. So they had an okay match. David Holt Smith, after being dominated, goes to tag out. Tyson Kidd doesn't tag him and kicks him in the head, and then starts to leave. Then Gabriel hits the 450 on David Holt Smith for the win. It would have been. I kind of look at it as disgust though, because the Hart Dynasty were a great tag team, and if they had at least used them as single wrestlers, it would not have been such a bad thing. But David Holt Smith ended up getting released, and Tyson Kidd, well, he has an injury now, but he never got used. So if they had used the guys, I would not have been mad about it. So then we get the Orton's promo. Randy Orton never really gets to say anything. R-Truth comes up and says that he thinks John Cena is gonna screw Randy Orton out of the WWE Championship at Survivor Series. But then our truth tells Randy Orton that well, because he tells him that because I guess the week before they had like a 10-man tag match or something, and Cena in that and Wade Barrett and Randy Orton win that match, and John Cena pinned Randy Orton's shoulders down. So that's the reason why R-Truth thinks that. So R-Truth tells him that he can either just deal with it or do something about it, and Randy Orton says he's gonna punch Cena's skull off. Punch Cena's skull tonight. Then we get the Brooklyn Brawler with Harvey Boy Whippleman versus Ezekiel Jackson. It doesn't start out that way. He comes out, and the British Brooklyn Brawler, because he's booked as like the greatest wrestler of all time, and the Brooklyn Brawler says that he was upset that he didn't even get a standing ovation. He got none of that. So Harvey Whippleman gets on the mic and he challenge on behalf of the Brooklyn Brawler. He challenges any member of wrestlers that today to face him. So then Ezekiel Jackson comes out and just squashes him, hits like a one-handed. It was kind of like a rock bottom, but it was like a one-handed spine buster really, and pins him for the victory. I'm not really a big Ezekiel Jackson fan, so it was just a squash match really. But it was kind of good because I didn't really know who the Brooklyn Brawler was at that time. But it was kind of good to meet him. But then I kind of forgot about him. Then I saw him again. So it's not like that's pretty much my thoughts right there. So then we have the Nexus backstage. Like I said, the people that are in the Nexus are Justin Gabriel, Heath Slater, they are in it. Also, David Otunga was in it. Husky Harris and Michael McGillicuddy and Barrett was in it. Those were there at the time. There were more and there were less, but those were them at that time. So Otunga's talking about how he's still in the group and he he beat a former world champion Edge, and he's saying that how he's like a leader, but I guess Wade Barrett says that he said the leader of the Nexus. So then that kind of pisses Barrett off. So then David Otunga switches the subject by saying someone needs to take care of R-Truth tonight. So Barrett tells him that he's gonna do that. But we had the Raw general manager coming. At that time, he had the computer, and it was the computer, and it was just annoying as hell. And then Jerry the King Lawler says, "This is supposed to be old school. There was no laptops back then." So then Michael Cole gets on so then the GM announces that instead Wade Barrett's gonna be facing R-Truth, and he has a special match for later tonight for David Otunga. Then Wade Barrett, Husky Harris says that they have Wade Barrett's back, but Barrett wants to do it himself to prove to the universe that he can beat any member of the Raw roster by himself. So then Cena comes in and says that Barrett owes him a thank you for protecting him tonight, but he says no. Then Cena's gonna go get ready for his. So then he orders Husky Harris and Michael McGillicuddy to walk Cena out so that Randy Orton doesn't attack him. But then he says, "Hold it, Husky McGillicuddy." And then he tells Barrett that if Randy Orton wants some, he can just come get some from him. So then we get John Cena versus The Miz with Alex Riley. The Miz comes out and he says that since the Raw general manager never emailed in and sanctioned that match, that he can just change it. So he does, and instead it's Alex Riley, the reverse. Alex Riley instead faces him. So then Cena just wins with the STFU. Then Randy Orton comes out and attacks The Miz. Husky Harris and McGillicuddy come out. They get clothesline over the ropes. Cena and Orton brawl, and then we see guys from backstage come, and one of those guys was John Laurinaitis, and you could see Laurinaitis. He like runs and trips, and I remember that made me think of that time when CM Punk won I think it was when he won the award. No, It was when he won some sort of award. It wasn't Superstar of the Year. It was a different award. And then he showed like a bunch of John Laurinaitis' embarrassing moments, and one of those moments was it. And he like played that over and over again. And when he tripped, and now that I see that, it's just so funny. You see the guy trip, and it also when Cena came out too, when he went to throw his hat, he didn't like put much oomph into it. So then he had to hand the kid his hat, which is probably like embarrassing. So then we have Nikolai Volkov and Iron Cheek promo. They're going to send, this was just kind of stupid, but kind of good. They're going to send the national anthem. So, let me think. So then, in the middle of Nikolai Volkov singing the Russian national anthem, Santino Marella and Vladimir Kozlov come out, and they want to do it with them, and then Volkov and Kozlov are doing it. Then Santino says that was just awful. So then he wants help to hit the Italian national anthem. So then he has Slick come out, and then that was pretty much it. I didn't really remember what else happened. Then that was it. So then we get Santino Marella and Vladimir Kozlov versus the Usos with Tamina Snuka and Superfly Jimmy Snuka, and winners become the #1 contenders for the WWE Tag Team titles. It was kind of good to see Superfly Jimmy Snuka out there, but I just didn't really. It's just like it was a good the Usos are a good tag team. I just didn't really care at that time for Santino Marella and Vladimir Kozlov, because they were kind of a shitty tag team, kind of like Team Cobra, but it doesn't look like they're teaming anymore. So I just didn't really care for that. At least it was a tag team, because at that time they had like no tag teams, like they had to throw like teams together back then. So that kind of was what the case was back then, which is why I think it was a bad idea at the time to bring up the Hart Dynasty, because they had like no tag teams. So Santino Marella hits the Cobra, one of the Usos, for the win. They celebrate, and I like how like Superfly Jimmy Snuka didn't help him at all. So then Sheamus comes in, he bro kicks Vladimir Kozlov, and he bro kicks the other Uso. So then he's stalking Santino. John Morrison comes out. Sheamus runs at him. He pulls down the rope, and then he kicks Sheamus in the head when he tries to get back in. John Morrison gets on the mic, and he just has shitty mic skills. So then John Morrison says that he's been coming after Sheamus lately, because I guess at that time he was. And because he's a bully, and when bullies stood, like when someone stands up to them, they back away. So they offers to fight him, and then Sheamus leaves. That was fine, I guess. Kind of a good way to get John Morrison something to the main event scene. So then we get David Otunga, and that special match he had was against Kofi Kingston. It's at that time I was expecting like a legend to come out, like someone like The Rock, Stone Cold. No, I'm not saying like those, but I'm expecting someone like that. But we get Kofi Kingston, and no one reacted really either. So then they have a match, and both men double close on each other, and they're both down. So then we get an appearance by George the Animal Steel, and my grandfather told me about him, and he said that he used to eat the turnbuckles, like the stuff out of it, like the stuffing, and then he eats it. And I like Michael Cole said, I wonder if he shaved his back, because I remember there was like a bunch of hair on his back. So then he eats the turnbuckle. Otunga kind of looks at it and just does. His head gets slammed into the buckle, and he gets hit with Trouble in Paradise by Kofi Kingston for the win. The only reason that made this good was George the Animal Steel. Other than that, it was just shit. So then we get Gerald Briscoe, John Morrison, and Arn Anderson backstage. Briscoe and Anderson are congratulating Morrison for standing up to Sheamus. Sheamus just bro kicks Morrison and says that, and tells him, and it accepts his challenge for a match at Survivor Series. We get Oksana backstage, and she has the $1 million title for some reason, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan comes up and goes, "Oh!" and she thinks he calls her a hoe, I think. And then she's like, "What did you just call me?" And then he tells her that her mom's here, and he's not happy that she's been stealing her catchphrase. Once I don't remember her ever doing that. So then she comes up and she says, "Mom, you've lost a few pounds." And then Dusty Rhodes is disguised in the wig, and then Kelly drops like a net on her. And then Goldust says, "Give me that. You've been a very naughty girl." So then he returns it to the original. IRS comes up, and Ted DiBiase, and the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. And then Ted DiBiase says that this isn't mine. I gave it to my son, Ted DiBiase Jr. So he offers to take it. DiBiase Jr. says that he's not going to take it. He doesn't want a hand-me-down. He wants a real title. He leaves. Cody Rhodes says, I forget what he says, but then Goldust asks him to give him some grooming tips. Then he goes, and then Cody's like, "Don't breathe on me." So then Dusty Rhodes dances to its theme song. Tatanka comes up. Everyone's dancing. Who else came up? Oh, the Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Then Ron Simmons comes up and just says, "Damn." So that was funny. And then Michael Cole gets on commentary and says, "Did you guys really use the dance backstage during on the old days?" And he's like, "Yeah, all the time." Jerry the Color says, "Yeah, all the time." He's like, the 90s people need. He says like the 90s people need help back then. So I thought that was really funny. So then it shows the brawl between Randy Orton and Cena. We get R-Truth and Eve Torres backstage headed into the match with Wade Barrett. Then we have R-Truth with Eve Torres versus Wade Barrett. R-Truth comes out with this theme song called "Let's Get Crunk." It's time to get crunk. And Michael Cole is like, "This is junk. This is junk." So yeah, but Wade Barrett hits a big boot in the wasteland on R-Truth for the victory. Decent match. Then we get Alberto Del Rio versus Sergeant Slaughter with Tito Santana as Alberto Del Rio's ring announcer and Chavo Classic as Alberto Del Rio's car driver. And well, originally Del Rio came out and talked about how like the legend that we shouldn't be celebrating the legends should be celebrating him. Then Sergeant Slaughter just comes out and challenges him to a match, and then he accepts. He gets it. Del Rio just kind of kicks his ass. He does that Enziguri kick in the corner for the win. He puts the cross arm breaker. Then MVP comes out for the save. They probably had a match on SmackDown. And then Del Rio won the match. That's probably what happened. Then it shows fans buying WrestleMania 27 tickets. We get Mae Young interview. They show her career. Then Lay Cool come out. They do lame stuff with that. Like, it wasn't lame. Like, they say, like... They did say some funny stuff. Like, she was old enough to be the Wonder Woman. Like, some old lady. I forget what she... Miss Elizabeth, I think. Grandmother. That she needs a diaper changed. That kind of stuff. She challenges... She says, "I'm going to challenge these sluts to a no disqualification match." Then, they say false count anywhere. They fight. All the faces divas come out. They beat them up. Mae Young hits a right hand on Layla. And Natalya clotheslines Layla. And Mae Young picks up the victory. That was pretty much it. So then we get Daniel Bryan versus Jack Swagger with Jim Ross on commentary. And this was a really good match. I actually was impressed. And I didn't think Jim Ross was going to be able to call the match because Michael Cole was trashing him the whole time. But Ross just ignored him, which was the best part of it. So then, but yeah, he did call the match pretty good. I liked it when Bryan went to Charles Swagger and he just caught him into a boot. When Bryan did the missile drop kick and he did that flying knee. Jack Swagger did that belly to belly in the ring, did the Swagger bomb twice. Went for the gut wrench power bomb. Bryan goes for the label lock. And Swagger does the sidewalk slam, what's it called? Not the backstabber, the backbreaker. Then Brian kicks Swagger in the head for the win. And then Ted DiBiase Jr. comes out, hits the Dream Street on him, and holds up the United States Championship, because at that time, Daniel Bryan was the United States Champion. Then he just leaves, and I guess that set up a match at some point. Then it introduces all the legends. Oh, I should mention that when Lawler left, he hit Michael Cole with his hat a couple times. Then it introduces all the legends. I'm going to see if I can name them all that were there. This probably isn't going to be in order. Sergeant Slaughter, Cowboy Bob Orton. Piper doesn't count. Oh, by the way, we got Piper's Pit. I forgot to mention that the Raw GM said that. With Cena and Orton. So yeah, I'll start over. Sergeant Slaughter, Cowboy Bob Orton, Iron Cheek, Nikolai Volkov, Slick, the Brooklyn Brawler. They didn't say Harvey Whipperman, but he was there. Mean Gene Okerlund, but his name didn't come up at the bottom when they said his name. Howard Finkel. Mae Young, Jim Ross, Dusty Rhodes, Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, ILS, I can't say his full name, I don't remember what it is. And that's kind of it, I think. Tatanka, Ron Simmons, and that's pretty much all they have. So then we get Piper's Pit with Cena and Orton, with John Cena and Randy Orton. Roddy Piper comes up and says, back in the old days, we used to do something about, when we had a problem, we used to do something about it. Like when Lou Albano won the best, I think he said, like an award for like best rock roll band or something. He hit him off the head with a gold record. When Superfly Jimmy Snuka was the top superstar, he cracked him off the head with a coconut. So then he introduces Cena, then John Cena, and he says that he's been a fan of John Cena, and that he's been a man ever since he's come to the company, but he's been competing for over 30 years. And Piper says that he's never been the WWE Champion. Then he mentions others like Mr. Perfect, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, Ted DiBiase. Guys, pretty much he goes through the list. And he says that if you give Wade Barrett the WWE Championship without him deserving it, you spit in all those legends' face, including mine. So then Piper tells Cena to do the right thing. Cena says that he doesn't know what the right thing is. And he says ever since he's got here, he's been trying to prove that he can hang with the legends. But all he's heard is free or fired. And if he just hands over a championship, he doesn't know what he's free from. He won't be the guy. He'll just be a guy that handed Wade Barrett the championship. A fan says never give up, and then he says you're damn right. Then John Cena says that he's gonna call the match down the middle, and then Barrett comes out and says that it doesn't matter if you call it down the middle because I prove I could beat any member of the Raw roster without the Nexus. But Wade Barrett says that if he doesn't get his hand raised as WWE Champion, Cena will no more WrestleMania. He'll tell Cena that there will be no more WrestleManias and no more Cena Nation. But there already is pretty much no more Cena Nation, kind of. I still am a Cena Nation. But then Piper says that if you get the WWE Championship without deserving it, you won't be the WWE champion. You'll just be a joke. Then Barrett says that when earlier today he realized that John Cena never wore a Nexus T-shirt, and he's a little disappointed at that himself that he didn't have him wear one. So it's kind of strange. And he also said that it was John Cena's last Raw as part of the Nexus. But it was and possibly his last Raw, which we know today it wasn't. But you know that Cena would have probably gone to TNA or probably we would have seen Cena again. But anyways, I can't believe though that Bailey never had Cena put the Nexus T-shirt on until his last Raw as part of the Nexus. That would have been better. And when he actually put on the shirt, it actually fit him better than his regular T-shirt. I just wanted to point that out. So then Cena says that whether Wade Barrett wins the championship or not, he's going to beat the hell out of him. But then Barrett says that he's going to have the Nexus hit the ring after the match and beat the hell out of him. So then Barrett says that he's got it all figured out. So then Orton comes out and says that ever since he counting the shoulders down 1, 2, 3, that all he's been thinking about that he's figured out a way to put an end to all of this. That he can just punch him in the skull. Cena says, "What's stopping him?" Right here, Orton says but Orton comes up and says that he has a better plan. He attacks Wade Barrett, goes for the RKO, hits the scoop slam on him, goes for the RKO. Cena gets in front of him. He gets hit with Orton hits the RKO on Cena. He tosses Barrett outside the ring. Orton goes to punch Cena. Cena counters into the FU. Wade Barrett tells him to raise his hand, and he gets hit with the FU. And that ends the show. So not the greatest show for matches, but a pretty entertaining show for an old school show. I really did like this show, and I think that maybe this year's is going to be better, considering that we have that possibly now that The Rock's back, we have Mick Foley. Because at that time, Mick Foley couldn't come there. The Rock wouldn't go there. Austin, I don't think we're going to get this time either, though. But I really am enjoying what they did on this one. But I really think that they can do better, though. They're gonna have Flair too, which is gonna be good. They're gonna have like a bunch of legends now, and it's gonna be awesome. And now Michael Cole isn't a heel, well, it still was good as Michael Cole was a heel, but I only think that this show really was a good Raw to watch. Go back and watch. Some of the matches I wouldn't go back and watch, but the match I definitely think you should check out is watch Daniel Bryan versus Jack Swagger. That was a good match. The worst match was probably Ezekiel Jackson versus the British Brawler. That's pretty much the worst match. But that's pretty much it for this video. I'm going to be back at 9 o'clock to review main event.